You won't believe what this country eats. Have you ever gone to a restaurant where the cuisine is unfamiliar to you and thought to yourself, "Are you kidding?" when you saw one of the dishes? That is what they consume. It's horses for courses, as they say in the UK. This assertion, among others, has nothing to do with the preference of the French for the consumption of horse meat, is a horse racing term. It is true, however, that what is weird to you may not be strange to someone else, and vice versa. A bacon, peanut butter, and grape jelly sandwich may have appealed to Elvis Presley, but it would be considered revolting in other countries. People have eaten unusual things in times of scarcity, scavenging for anything vaguely edible, but on this episode of the Could Be Anything channel, we'll focus largely on meals with a price tag. Don't forget to join our notification squad by subscribing and clicking the bell icon. If you think Elvis Presley's calorie-laden concoction is unusual, go to Scotland and you'll see stuff you won't believe people consume. A Scot could go to the Chippy, aka the fish and chip shop, after a night out and a few drinks at the pub, but instead of the customary meal, get a deep-fried pizza. Or possibly a deep-fried Mars bar or another deep-fried chocolate bar. If you visit England and have one of their typical English breakfasts, you'll see a black patty with white spots on your plate. Black pudding is a combination of congealed pig's blood, fat, and oats. Tripe is a fading food in the north of England, although it is still consumed nowadays. It's literally the insides of a cow's stomach, pickled in vinegar in the north of England, and still is in certain areas, and has a feel and appearance that you can only picture. When you slaughter a cow, her gut probably weighs 75 to 100 kilograms, a British chef who tried to revive her told The Guardian in 2011. It's inexcusable that it all ends up in dog food. We know that snails are a particular dish in France, but horse meat is also popular. Pied de porc, or pig's trotters, is another popular dish in France. They are prevalent in many places, but the French seem to like eating their feet. The French also love a dish known as tête de veau, which is basically a grilled cow's head. The greatest component is the brain, and some people in France believe it's great for your skin and bones. Cow brain is also a popular delicacy in Spain. Italy, like France, is famed for its cuisine, and it's unlikely that a deep-fried Mars bar would go down well with the people. Dormouse is our favorite meal that we discovered in Italy. Dormouse hunting was apparently such a speciality that a term was coined for dormouse hunters, a gglz joraru. While some sources claim that dormouse is still eaten today in a community in the southern Italian area of Calabria, others claim that Slovenia is the only nation that still eats mouse, albeit it is quite unusual. However, the winner in Italy is a meal that was once banned, and it's easy to see why. This is known as kazu marzu, which translates to rotten cheese. This is a cheese that was left outdoors to enable flies to lay eggs in it, and the larvae then digested the lipids and fermented it. Some individuals apparently left the maggots in when they ate it, while others removed the worms. I lifted my piece, only to realize it was literally twisting tiny twisted worms, one American blogger wrote after tasting worm cheese. It wasn't too horrible, she said. Moving on to Scandinavia, the Norwegian meal of smalahove is one of the oddest, and for some, stomach-churning, delicacies. If you don't get your hands on the eyes, nose, or ears during the Christmas season, you can always scoop out the brain. Doesn't seem delicate maybe, but taste is good, one Norwegian said on TripAdvisor. It's worth noting that not all Norwegians consume the whole head. They have a speciality in Sweden, which is essentially rotting herring. It's fish that has been fermented for 6 months and then jammed into a container that bulges dangerously with rancid fumes, the BBC adds. It smells like a rotting body, according to reports. According to the BBC, the Japanese consider it to be the world's worst food odor. Sticking with herring, the Russians create a dish called seledka pod shuboy, or herring beneath a fur coat. It really doesn't seem that horrible, because it's simply herring beneath a layer of veggies and mayo that resembles a coat. Let us leave Europe for the time being and go to South America. Something that was formerly considered strange in Peru has suddenly gained popularity in the United States. Guinea pig has been deep-fried. Nearby, in Brazil, they have a dish called haggis that is quite similar to the Scottish delicacy. This is known as bucata, and it involves opening up a goat's stomach and filling it with all kinds of stuff we don't eat, such as heart, lungs, and intestines. That's all sewed back together and cooked, and although it may seem strange, it's claimed to be quite tasty. There's a food in Mexico that appears like a nutty chunk of chocolate, but it's really called escamoles. This is really ant larva, and it's supposed to be delicious. Huitlacoche, which is simply decaying corn cobs coated with fungus, is another popular cuisine in Mexico. The name means sleeping excrement in English. In certain parts of the United States, people have weird eating habits, and we're not talking about deep-fried Twinkies or corn dogs, which make most people's stomachs turn. Alligator and rattlesnake are two more unusual natural delicacies that are still consumed in the United States. Tim Love's Lonesome Dove Western Bistro in Fort Worth, Texas, is said to serve an especially tasty rattlesnake. Smoked Louisiana alligator ribs are another popular delicacy in the United States, while turtle soup is popular in Pennsylvania and Louisiana. Not to mention Asia, no list of weird cuisines would be complete, but where to start? We won't go into the details of the controversial eating of cats and dogs because it can cover a whole episode. If tourists visit Thailand, they will quickly discover that fried insects are for sale on the streets of Bangkok. Among them are locusts, scorpions, huge water beetles, bamboo worms, pupae and crickets. You could take it a step further in Cambodia and consume a deep-fried gigantic tarantula. Chicken or duck embryos, occasionally a few on a stick, are maybe one of the most repulsive sights you'll ever witness all around Southeast Asia. This nearly formed creature looks like a squishy embryo with a slimy beak, as you'd expect. Locals, understandably, typically wash this down with scotch and beer, since it may be a bit off-putting even to them. Rats are also eaten in most Southeast Asian nations, however they are becoming extinct, and in some areas, they were essentially survival food for the poor. Although, according to the BBC, rats are still eaten in Cameroon, and the reporter sampled them. "It was the most wonderful meat I have ever tasted in my life," he says. He also visited Bihar, India, where he said that extremely impoverished people ate rats. He stated the meat was wonderful, but the flaming hair was revolting when the rats were being cooked. He has also eaten mice in other parts of Africa and India and claimed it was not too unpleasant each time. So there you have it, rats make a tasty supper. When it comes to unusual foods, the Japanese are no slouches. The enormous slimy tuna eyeball, which seems to have been pulled off a living fish and landed up on your plate, is one of the worst sights to look at. The wall of the eyeball was sticky and I couldn't even pull a chunk off, one blogger said after trying one on his travels. Unless you allowed it go into your brain, the gag effect was limited. The Koreans have a taste for the unusual, and when you eat it, it may still be moving. One of these delicacies is spoonworm, sometimes known as penis fish because of its appearance. The creatures are squirming about on your plate before you put them in your mouth if you eat them live. Live octopus, known as sanachi in Korea, is also consumed. He's apparently quite brave, however, since the tentacles continue to function after being swallowed, so make sure you chew them well to avoid getting those things stuck in your throat. Although China might be a list in and of itself, we've selected some of the tastiest goodies for you. Most of the other Asian foods may be added to the Chinese menu. But you might also send a dish of boiling chicken testicles or sheep penis on a stick from a street seller. Monkey brains, which are frequently shown as being eaten while the monkey is alive, are one of the worst things the Chinese have been accused of eating. This is urban legend, and there is no proof that it has ever occurred on a regular basis. Raw and roasted brain of a deceased monkey is regularly eaten in the Far East, according to The Guardian. Have you tried any of the meals on this list? What is the oddest cuisine you've ever tried? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as always. Next time, I'll see you.